Hey, we're back. It's 2025.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Welcome to the Fifth Star, a podcast where we usually review a movie and rate it. But today we decided to do something a little different because Squid Game Season 2 dropped like 3 weeks ago-ish. So today we're going to be diving into thoughts on Season 2. I'm kind of excited about it. I know Albert didn't watch Season 1 at all until last month.
So I basically hadn't seen Season 1, and then I watched it leading right into Season 2.
So it's
I binged
super
it all
fresh.
together. Yeah.
Super fresh for you. I watched it when it came out,
which was like 3 years ago, which is pretty crazy.
I've forgotten a lot of stuff.
Okay.
But I did refresh my memory a little bit. I also haven't looked up anything about Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really know like what the critics thought.
So Season 2 has been getting a lot of kind of mixed reviews. And
okay, that makes sense.
When I first started watching it, the first day, all the people were saying, oh, it's such a disappointment. So I kind of went into it being like, oh no, what happened? How, did they mess it all up? And so I was kind of worried going into it.
I mean, I was too.
Yeah.
Just from the last season.
Yeah, and the first season set such high expectations.
Yes.
But Season 2 did set a new record. It broke the record for most views in its first week.
Did it really?
Yeah. So it was like Wednesday, Season 1 had held the previous record. So a lot of people still watched it. And
my algorithm just hasn't been pushing it for me.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, we can get into what we thought about it.
Yeah.
And then you guys can let us know in the comments what you thought.
Yep.
But Jamie, what did you think of Season 2 of Squid Games?
It's so hard to like put all my thoughts into like a concise synopsis.
Yeah.
But overall, I did go into it with really low expectations because I was like, there's no way they're going to be able to achieve what the first season did.
Yeah.
Especially because the director, I forgot his name.
Hwang Dong-hyuk.
Yes, thank you. He did such a great job of, creating the whole thing. And I think he said he spent like 10 years working on it
Season 1.
Perfecting that storyline with no plans to make another season.
Yeah.
And so I remember reading articles like, will there be a season 2? Will there be a season 2? And he wasn't interested in doing a season 2. And it just was so successful that I was like, oh no, they're going to force him to make another season and it's going to be terrible because he's going to have to rush it and he didn't have a plan for it. And yeah, so my expectations were super low. However, overall, I did still feel like it holds up.
Yeah.
I guess the best way I can say it is Season 2 is not nearly on the same level as Season 1. So if I'm just comparing the two, it's like down here. But if Season 2 were on its own, like a totally new show, I think it still, for the most part, is a good show. It still has a lot of the qualities and the tension that the first season had.
Okay. We're going to try to do this without getting to spoilers first, and then we'll save our spoilers till later. And we'll give you a spoiler warning. But I disagree. I think that Season 2 was just as good as Season 1.
Wow, okay.
So I had heard all the hoopla and all the excitement over Season 1, even though I hadn't watched it.
Okay.
And so, I knew there was going to be massive amount of hype going into Season 2. And I was also worried that, anytime someone makes a singular show or movie, and then has to follow it up unplanned, kind of last minute, throw something together, it's always a flop.
Bad. Yeah.
And so I was fully expecting this was going to just be terrible.
Yeah.
And then watching Season 1 just a few weeks ago for the first time, I was like, oh, this is great. Yeah, it's fun. I really liked it. I mean, I guess in one sense, it was so overhyped for me that it didn't quite live up to that level of euphoria, I guess. But it was still so good. It was so well done, massively entertaining. And then going right from that into this, I didn't feel like there was any drop off at all. The way Season 1 ends, is like exactly setting up for what you expect to happen in the beginning of season 2, which this is right up front. This is episode 1, so I don't think this is too much of a spoiler, but so it picks up right from the main character, Gi-Hun, is right about to get on the plane and about to go to America to meet his daughter, right? But then he gets the phone call from the recruiter, and then he gets off of the plane and then says, "Oh, I'm coming," right? And then, season 2 is 3 years later, but it basically picks up right from what he's been doing in that time that's passed, which has really been trying to find that recruiter, find everything that happened, and kind of prove everything that he experienced, right?
For sure.
And ultimately to stop it from happening again.
Yeah.
So that's like the whole thing. And then the other main character, which is the cop, he's also trying to
figure out where the island is.
Yeah. And find his brother, right? Yeah. So it picks up exactly where we left off. And it was so well done. It was so well written. The thriller parts and the detective type of thing of how he's trying to figure out, where the island is, and like the main character having to actually spending all of his earnings dedicated to this one project. It's such a cool idea. He eventually has to get back into the games, right? Like we know that has to happen. And so trying to figure out how are we going to continue what happened in season 1?
Yeah.
And then still get back into the games.
Yeah.
And then do we have the same games because it's new people, or do we have like new games, and trying to navigate all of that? There's so much to balance. And I thought the creator did such a good job with all of that.
I think he did too. I mean, my main qualm was that I felt like season 2 was just not as clean as season 1.
Okay.
In terms of the themes and the main character arcs.
Yeah.
It just felt a little more sloppy and a little bit short-sighted. I mean, we can get more into that later.
Yeah.
But then the other problem was a lot of it drew from the same stuff that we already, like, it was kind of a rehashing, which I knew was inevitable because he's going to the games again.
I know, because the thing is, like, do you want the story to not involve him getting back into the games? And I think everyone would have hated that, right? Like, that's what we loved about season 1.
But it kept the tension.
Yep.
And it kept the values of really getting to know each character.
Yeah.
And kind of falling in love with each character so that we really care when they inevitably die. I mean, maybe.
But even that is hard because season 1, you're not going to bring back most of those people, and most of them
so you have to introduce a whole new cast.
And then so you have so having to introduce a whole new set of characters, I was kind of like, okay, well, that's going to not work as well, right? And then you get introduced to them really quickly, but you kind of get to know them really well really quickly too.
Yeah, and that's true.
One thing I was surprised about season 1, so after everything I'd heard about season 1, when I watched it finally, I was a little surprised at how intentional he was and methodical he was about giving time for backstory and character development, especially for the supporting characters.
Yeah.
And I was not expecting that. I thought from what I'd kind of heard in passing about season 1, it was all just going to focus on the games and it was all just the thrill of it. But it was very character heavy. It was very narrative driven, which was actually better, right?
Yeah.
It made it even better, more high quality. And so season 2 continued to take the time to do that with all the supporting characters.
It's true.
And so I liked the second cast too.
Yeah, I did too. I did too.
Okay.
I just remember thinking like, oh, this is that guy from season 1.
Yeah.
Oh, this is that girl from season 1. Like they kind of had a lot of mirroring happening.
Yeah, I did
which I didn't
feel that a little bit. Yeah.
But I also was kind of like, oh, I wish that there was a little more.
Yeah. But he did do like twists on things,
True.
So you had like another North Korean girl character,
right.
But there's a little twist.
Yeah. It's not what you expect.
Yeah.
It's true.
And then there's, like another kind of villain type character.
Right.
But he really is a different character entirely.
True.
And, so you have all these different kinds of versions of what you see in the first one, but they are their own people too.
True.
I thought it was really well done.
Who is your favorite character since we're on the topic?
Oh, man. So I actually really liked the Thanos character, the
Okay.
rapper. He starts off a little over the top and silly, but he really makes the watching it really enjoyable. He was kind of like a more fun version of the kind of antagonist in the first season.
Yeah.
Where in the first season, that thug was like such a kind of caricature of like a evil thug guy. I don't know. He seemed a little like they were trying to play it like he's a real serious character, but
Interesting. I
yeah.
felt like Thanos was more of a
But
caricature.
Thanos is intentionally so it
okay,
worked
yeah.
better for me.
He was
you know?
like an anime character.
Yeah, and so I think that's what worked for me. Like it was like he was
Interesting.
intentionally playing a very over the top, silly
Guy.
kind of type of
Yeah.
villain,
Yeah.
but it worked with his character, and
Yeah.
so I liked it, and he was very entertaining, and
I just wish he had a little bit more of a like empathetic element, but he was very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every time he spoke English, it was hilarious.
yeah. Yeah, and he's actually a real singer, I think, or rapper.
Yeah, a real rapper.
Yeah, so it made it a little more fun in that way and believable.
I
But-
loved the mom, the old old mom. I loved her so much.
Yeah, she was really good too. And so again, like, you meet her initially and you kind of don't really feel that strongly about her initially,
Mhm.
but they really do a good job of developing her
Yes.
and all of the characters.
Well, we can talk a little bit about the themes in this second season. A lot of it was sort of a repetition, but there were some new elements brought into it, I think. This is the first thing that comes to my mind.
Mhm.
The recruiter
Yeah.
got way more screen time, which was super interesting because I really wanted to see more of him.
Yeah, he was
And-
great. Even in the first season, but
Yeah.
you're right. Like, we didn't get enough of him, and
Barely.
yeah, I love how we just
Um,
focus on him right out of the gate.
In the first season, I remember thinking like he's just a very attractive Korean robot character. Like he just gave off this like I'm not a person
Yeah.
vibe. In
He's
this
the
one,
actor
he
from
became
Train
a
to
lot.
Busan. So, yeah, he was so good in that.
Oh. So in this one, he like had a lot more character development, which was really cool to see. But one thing that he brings into the themes, I guess, is he brings bread and lottery tickets to homeless people in the park and makes them choose, right?
Yeah.
Lottery ticket or bread. And I thought that was such a cool metaphor for the entire season. Because it's like, do you take a risk and possibly reap more
That's right.
reward, or do you survive and
Yeah.
take the bread?
Yeah. And we'll get more of this in spoilers, but they do make a little twist in kind of the way the games play out from season 1. And it is like a big part of the new structure of this second season.
Yeah, and I am glad they did that.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I think it worked a lot better and it was more interesting than season 1.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that in spoilers and unpack that more. But you're right. Yeah, like that is a really good metaphor for what's to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the whole comparison of like they're the trash of the earth. Like these homeless people are like the scum, the trash, the waste of space. Like that was sort of the implication the villain was saying. And that metaphor kind of carries throughout. And I feel like we got a little taste of that in season 1, but it was really hitting the nail on the head in the second season.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you were saying earlier, I think I would agree that season 1 was more clear thematically. It was really a whole metaphor about capitalism, right? And kind of the good and evil of it all, that kind of thing. And so I thought that did come through really clearly, and then in season 2, we don't get like that clear of a prominent, consistent theme. And it seems almost more focused on the story just unfolding and the characters. But I didn't mind that because I didn't necessarily want it to just kind of reiterate the same capitalistic theme. Like you already know that from season 1, so you're just kind of applying that by yourself
we needed
as a
something
viewer.
Different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought even in season 1, the way they were kind of pointing out and highlighting those capitalistic themes was a little too over the top sometimes. Like all the kind of rich VIPs who were like paying to see everything and whatever, like I don't know. Every time we would cut away to them in season 1, it just felt so ridiculous sometimes.
It did.
Because they all acted like caricatures, right? It just seemed less sinister seeing them actually being all like, ooh, yeah, like, let's see all these people kill each other. And, oh, I'm so evil, I'm so rich and evil. And, like, it just kept doing that over and over in the end of season 1 that I didn't super love all of that. It was good to just see that they existed. But in season 2, I was kind of glad that wasn't as much of a focus.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think all the choices that he made for season 2, especially up against all the expectations and the fact that he hadn't pre-planned all of this, I thought was really smart, really well done.
Yeah.
I watched it with someone in our family and my brother-in-law, and he actually liked season 2 better than season 1.
Wow.
Yeah. I would probably see them as equal. So I think if you liked season 1, you shouldn't be afraid to see season 2.
Season 2, yeah.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
You liked season 1 too, right?
Yeah, I think
probably liked it evenly from what we said.
I think I really liked season 1, like a lot, and I think season 2 was just like a step
a little
down,
bit of a letdown.
But I still really enjoyed it.
Okay,
and I still really wanted to like keep watching it.
So my kind of theory for why season 1 lands stronger than season 2 is probably just because season 1 has the novelty factor
and the mystery.
Yeah, like everything
so
is
much
new,
mystery.
And it's all about how does all of this work.
Yep.
And all of that gets kind of every episode, another piece of it gets unfolded, and so all of that is what's kind of fun about it. And then the game element of it is, the first time that people just like die is like shocking.
Yeah.
And then each game feels like it's a whole new thing. And so maybe if there's a flaw for season 2 is that it didn't make it totally new to the same level,
Yeah.
Like half of it was kind of repeated off the same structure, but then the other half was like a twist that kind of made it feel somewhat different.
Yeah.
It felt different, but not totally new. Maybe that's it. And so that's the part where it's not as engaging or as exciting as people's experience with season 1, maybe.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Actually, let's move into spoilers.
Okay. We're getting into spoilers.
Yeah, because I think I can kind of like segue that thought. My only other thing with season 2 and what I think could have elevated it more for me would be there's 2 opposing philosophies, right? We've got the front man and we've got Gi-Hun. Did I say it right? Gi-Hun.
Yeah.
Both of them are on opposite ends. Gi-Hun believes that humanity is, worth saving.
Yeah.
No matter what social status you are. Whereas the front man believes that basically people in debt or the poor, the trash, whatever he wants to call them, is not worth
like they're
the
expendable.
Resources.
Yeah, they're expendable. So why not?
They're wasting space. Yeah. They're wasting energy. So why not get rid of them?
Yeah.
Especially if they're willing to die for nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
Or they're like the Walking Dead anyway because they're all under so much debt that
they're
someone's
gonna die
out
anyway.
to get them. Yeah, might as well make some entertainment out of them.
And cut their life short.
But he also does have that kind of capitalistic thing of, but they have a chance to rise out of that, right? One person gets a chance. And this games is all structured to be able to give one person that opportunity to save themselves. I think
that's just for their own entertainment, though. It's not because he actually thinks that. I don't know. It's hard to.
It is hard, yeah.
To know what he's thinking, and that's like my main thing is that both characters have such opposing views, which is interesting. The problem is, and getting into spoilers, this season ends kind of mid-story, which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
It kind of ends in the middle of a very climactic moment, and then it's just like, season 3 is coming, and you're like...
So, from what I've heard, that is the number one thing that people hated about season 2.
Because
was the fact that it felt like it was half a season.
It was half a season.
Which it was.
It was.
It was 7 episodes. The first one was 10. But I thought that was pretty clear watching it. Like, they gave us all the episodes up front, right?
Well, and
by the time I got to season 5 or episode 5, I was like, we're only on the second game, I think.
Way
there's no way. Yeah. I'm like, this is going to be a cliffhanger into the second or the next season.
So
I was prepared for that. And
it was frustrating because the two opposing sides, you can tell neither is budging. And that really frustrated me because it felt like we're holding all this tension between them and we're just pulling further and further apart. Instead of like, in the first season, I thought they did it so cleverly because Gi-Hun starts on this one end and ends up on the other by the end of the season. And it's like such a good arc.
Yeah. He becomes the person like he didn't want to be, but he's really changed.
And then the old man, he sort of steps more towards the middle, even though he still is kind of evil, even at the end.
Yeah.
But it feels more like he's stepping into the shoes of the people that he's been tormenting. Whereas in this season, it just really bothered me that the front man, it just felt like there was no change in him at all.
And also, I agree, in Gi-Hun also.
Gi-Hun was kind of flat.
He has, but the thing is, in season 2, he has a very clear motive.
Very clear goal.
Yeah. Whereas in season 1, you're not really sure. He kind of like wanders through the season a little bit and you're not really sure what to make of him. Which is why where he ends up, it feels really cathartic in a way because you see kind of like a final release of all of that he's going through, right?
Yeah.
But in season 2, you're right. Both of them don't really change. Gi-Hun kind of like pops up occasionally throughout. But then it'll just go to like one of the side characters and then Gi-Hun's just like on the side. And then he comes back into the story and he's like, oh yeah, we're reminded of why he wants to do what he wants to do. Yeah. But they did it in a way that was convincing. Like it was very believable to me why he chose to go back in, why he chose to not spend the money, like why he wants this to stop. Like all that seemed very believable to me.
Yeah.
But you're right. Where it ends, it doesn't really change. But that's why I actually liked the ending. Okay. Since we're in spoilers, I want to talk about the ending because I was so genuinely worried. Okay, rewind. There's too much to unpack. The front man.
Yeah.
It was such a fun twist to have him go into the games. Yeah. During the games, you're always like thinking, oh my gosh, is he really going to risk his life?
Yeah.
You know, and why is he doing this? And is he going to betray him? He seems like he's really kind of befriending Gi-Hun.
But also, why is he doing this?
Yeah, why is he doing this?
So confusing.
Yeah, and so, but that tension of him just being there added such a different dynamic to all the subtext of what's going on.
Yeah.
That made it really fun to watch. And then finally at the end, like when all of that culminates in this massive shootout in that like really cool stairwell, like teleport area, you know, that was so cool. Like it was such a great kind of action cinematic
final stand.
Yeah. And you know, this little thing that was just a transitory area that looked really cool visually, the fact that they like were shooting everywhere, everything, destroying everything, and you know, trying to go back and get the ammo, and all of that was so good and it was so tense. And then ultimately for that to be the moment when the front man finally reveals his true colors and betrays, backstabs Gi-Hun, was just so enjoyable. And I loved that.
I wish though I knew the whole time that he was gonna do that.
I know, but the way he did it and the moment he chose to do it,
I felt like I knew it was coming though, and I wish that he had like revealed a little bit of hesitation there of like, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I wanted him to be little more
empathetic, like maybe he's redeemable.
Maybe, or maybe just like he and Gi-Hun can come to more of an understanding. And I think it would have been so much cooler if Gi-Hun had started to suspect him at least a little bit.
Okay, that could have been interesting.
Because he already knows about 001 from the first game.
Yeah, but
why wouldn't he be a little...
But that would be such a, in his mind, a coincidence. That...
Yeah. I so wish that he had used his real name. the frontman had used his real name in the games, though,
Mm.
because he doesn't know that Gi-Hun knows his real name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been such a crazy moment of him being like, oh, this is my name. And now Gi-Hun has to be like, is it just a coincidence that he has the same name as the cop's brother? Is it, or is this the same guy? And like,
Yeah.
oh, that could have been
I know.
so interesting.
Yeah, you're right. I think if Gi-Hun was going through a little bit more of questioning, is this guy on my side or not throughout the season, kind of back and forth, and whenever
And
he
even
was,
when he kills the guy in the room, when he chokes him,
yeah,
and then the friend never tells Gi-Hun,
yeah, he was about to,
and then he
he
decides
doesn't.
not to.
Yeah,
I wish he had told him.
yeah, because you could have him suspect, and then the front man does something to win his trust back, and then he goes, "Oh no, forget it," and then kind of waffle back and forth a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
I think that could have been better. You're right, because it did seem very like just straight the whole time.
Yeah.
They're just kind of getting to know each other, and you're just really not sure why the front man is doing what he's doing. But Gi-Hun doesn't ever really suspect him, and he just continues to like earn his trust. But that's why that moment when he gets betrayed is so, it makes that betrayal so much more painful, I think. But even that moment, when he pointed the gun at Gi-Hun, I was genuinely fearful that they were gonna kill him off. And I was like, no, you cannot kill him. Like, what is he? I don't care what season 3 is. Like, you can't save yourself.
I had
Get
the
back
same
from that.
thought.
Yeah. And I was genuinely so terrified, which is saying a lot because at this point we've seen Thanos get killed. We've seen like all these really, characters that have gotten developed just get killed.
Yeah.
Like the recruiter in episode 1, when they killed him, I was so shocked.
That was so tense.
Yeah, it was so
The
tense.
roulette games,
Oh my
both of
gosh.
them.
Yeah.
I like couldn't even watch.
I know. It was so good. And he was so good that I was like,
His
are you
acting
really
is
gonna
like-
are you really gonna kill him off? And you're not gonna make use of him the rest of the season? Like, he's such a great character.
Yeah.
And so
Psychopath.
yeah, so that's the kind of great thing about Squid Game is
No one's safe.
Yeah, no one is safe. Yes, thank you. And the fact that I genuinely believe that Gi-Hun could get killed by the front man in that moment,
Yeah.
and then when he doesn't and kills his best friend, it's just like, oh my goodness. But I cheered at the end of that because I was like, yes, season 3 is set up now for Gi-Hun to have everything he needs to know, right? He knows this front man is not an ally. Oh, now he's still not, because I think the front man's going to come back in, take off the mask, and go back in to play, right? And and then now it's going to become maybe season 3 is all about him now suspecting he's the one, right? And then when he realizes, and the hatred that he has built up for this front man and the games, it just intensifies even more all the kind of anger and pain that he's brought into the games from season 1. So I just think you're just stacking even more on top. I think in season 3 it's gonna make Gi-Hun a much more dynamic character where he's not really like sitting in the background. Maybe he's really going for it a lot more. And we're gonna be rooting for him a lot more too.
Yeah, I hope so, because I feel like he was pretty two-dimensional in this season. Which makes sense. It makes sense for his character to be, all I have to do is end the games. All I have to do is stop the killing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I wanted Gi-Hun from the first season more.
Yeah.
So that was just tricky. And we did get a little taste of that when he's having that conversation with his friend.
Right, yeah. And I think to your point, also the cop character, the detective, he's like the other main character, right?
He had no screen time.
Yeah, he also kind of doesn't really go anywhere because after he initially helps and then now he's on this boat trying to find the island, he just ends up wandering the whole season. Yeah.
I don't get... Okay, let's talk about the boat guy.
Oh, the captain.
Captain Park?
Okay, yes, Captain Park.
What? Like, I knew he was shady.
Yeah, I knew he was going to be the mole, right?
Yeah.
That was pretty...
It was pretty obvious, especially his whole, like, fascination with the drone. I was like, this guy is not who he says he is.
Yeah.
But what is he then? What is his whole thing? Like, is his whole purpose to just lead the cop astray.
Yeah, because the whole question is when the cop got shot off of the ledge.
He was saved.
Yeah, who, like, was the fisherman there? Did the brother then call the fisherman guy to say, "Hey, come, you work
Save
for
my
me,
brother.
right? Come pick him up and then take care of him." And then maybe it was just to keep tabs on him, but be there to like
Maybe.
subtly lead him astray. But he was never making the decisions. Like the cop was always the one picking
Right.
what island to go to. He would be
Right.
the one to dive and check. So it didn't really seem like he would really be leading him astray. Maybe if it was anything just to like notify the front man, hey, he's getting
Right.
close, right? Hey, we're going to this island. So the one part where we think that they're on that island and they it ends up being a booby trap. That was because he reported to them up
Right.
front, right? And so he had some role, but
It's
a
interesting.
lot of questions still. Yeah.
Because it makes you think, like, oh, maybe the front man actually does still care about his brother enough to not just, like, because he could have just killed him.
I mean, he clearly still cares to some level, yeah, because
Yeah.
he didn't kill him in season 1.
Yeah.
Which that
But-
was also kind of telegraphed from season 1. So in season 2,
yeah.
like,
It's not much of a surprise.
yeah, you're just kind of shown
Which-
that right up front.
Okay, speaking of
Yeah.
shooting kind of off screen, the character whose daughter had leukemia, the guy, he's in the games, and he gets shot by somebody in pink at the end.
Yeah.
But it's also off screen.
Hmm.
I think he lives.
The leukemia guys. Oh, because you think the sniper didn't intentionally kill him?
Yes.
Huh.
I think she is the one. I think so. The North Korean girl in the pink uniform, I think that was her. And I think she shot him in a non-lethal spot to keep him alive but make it look like he was dead.
But then he would have just got, recycled for his organs, right? They would have marked his casket.
I don't know. I think, like, in all the chaos, she's going to try to save him because that's been the whole thing they've been setting up
I know.
the entire
Because,
season.
yeah, the whole North Korean sniper, like, she hasn't been revealed at all. Like, yeah.
And they shot him off camera.
Hmm.
I'm super suspicious.
Yeah. I mean, I think that she's going to be the massive player from the inside that helps Gi-Hun in season 3.
Yeah.
Like, right now, they've kind of silenced her and scared her. And she's playing along with them, letting them, not interfering with their organ operation. But there's going to come a point where she's like, no, I'm not going to stand by anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think Yoon's going to
She's going to be the traitor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like they can't just kill off the dad when they've been setting up so much of that story of, like, her not wanting him to die because she cares for this little girl. I mean, maybe he dies and then she takes care of the kid. Maybe.
Yeah.
But
or that's what sets her off to be like, I don't want to follow them anymore because
maybe
I actually care about.
She also doesn't kill him in the red light, green light. It looks like he's moving and she doesn't kill him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could just be reading into it.
Yeah. I mean, I if you can just get over the fact that season 2 is like half a season,
yeah,
I think it's gonna be great. And
it still holds up.
In like 6 months or a year, whenever they release season 3, and you watch it back to back, like it's not even gonna matter, right?
I just wish that it had been marketed more as like season 2.5 or something.
Oh yeah, like with Wicked.
Yeah.
Like they should have marketed Wicked maybe to be part 1. And not have you buy the ticket and realize when you
at least with Wicked though, it still had like an ending. This one, it ended mid-action.
Yeah,
it just ended right after the friend gets shot, and it's like, oh, okay, it's over. What?
Yeah,
there's no like denouement, resolution, nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I think some of this is just the business side of things. He wrote only 1 season, basically, and it was like, okay, do we just drop 15 episodes, an extended final season, which would have been a massive success. Everyone gone crazy, right? But they could have stretched it out over 2 years, get more subscriptions.
That's true. And then, at least it's coming out soon.
Yeah, and it's coming out soon. It's not like another 3 years from now. Like it's already shot, I think, right? They all shot it together.
Probably.
But this third season, this season 3 or season 2 part 2
Yeah.
is going to actually be the final season, apparently.
Okay, good. Good.
I think that's what he said. But that's what he said for the first season. So who knows? I mean,
think it should end.
Squid Games is just so popular that
Yeah.
they're gonna keep offering him insane amounts of money.
My husband had a theory in the first episode with the whole bread lottery ticket thing.
Okay.
He actually thought that was commentary on how the creator was like, do you want bread or do you want to pull a lottery and make a season 2 and possibly make more money? Or it could be a complete flop and a complete disaster. So it's like, do you want to roll the dice making a season 2 or do you want to just enjoy season 1? And take it as bread.
So it's like an Easter egg.
It's a meta commentary.
Kind of saying to the studios, if this is all gets messed up, this was on you. You asked for it.
Which is an interesting take just because, I mean, making anything in the industry is kind of like a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Like,
and there is
fail.
something different also at play culturally, because in Korea, like TV shows, like K-dramas are massive successes, right? They really are designed, when it ends, it ends.
They design it to end.
Yeah. And that's why they're so great.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't matter how popular they are. Like, no amount of the populace wanting and demanding like it's the story to continue has really made them continue, from what I know. Like, all the really popular ones some of the ones I've watched and stuff, like, they just ended when they ended.
Yeah.
You know? Apparently also Hwang Dong-hyuk, like the creator, also had written this potentially as like a movie initially. Like, even a movie is so much more compact and contained in terms of a story. And so like, he really didn't plan for it to be more. And so the fact that he did do a second season is like kind of a big deal. Like, from a Korean kind of media perspective, I think.
I mean, it did explode.
Yeah. And then I think like the fact that he's done a whole new 2 seasons and saying that this is the last, I think it is really going to be. He's probably going to write it so that there is no way to save it. But then Netflix could do, I think I heard that they might do like a spin-off.
No.
Or they might do like a prequel, right? Like, if they hire someone else to come and write like the prequel.
I mean, they've already done a reality show.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, they're going to find their way, I guess, to make their money, to get their bread,
crazy.
to get a lot of, get a winning lottery ticket.
More lottery tickets.
Yeah. Okay. Could we talk about the games? Okay, so the first game being Red Light, Green Light again. Which, interestingly, the translation in the subtitling, it says like red light, green light. In Korean, what they're actually saying is like the flower has bloomed. And the flower is, it is the same game, but like, they're not saying red light, green light. They're saying like the national flower has bloomed. You know,
That's fascinating.
It is kind of like a twist because, you know, now Gi-Hun is in there. He's saying that he's, you know, already played and been there, and how they did all of that with people like kind of doubting or kind of believing him, but then like doubting him, and then all of that.
Finding him super suspicious.
Yeah, like all of that I thought was really well written.
Yeah.
So I didn't mind that it was a rehash, but I was really worried that they were going to just replay all of them the same. And that would have been really disappointing, I think.
Yeah.
But then the second game, what did you think of the other 2 games, the second and third game?
I mean, I thought it was cool that they continued on the whole playground motif, or these are games you play as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Those are all games that we don't really have here in the States, but we have, I don't know, similar types of games.
Yeah.
The playground games one was so stressful.
Oh, the second,
so much more.
All the mini games, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 5-minute
yeah.
mini game, it was so much more stressful than the merry-go-round one for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And yeah, I think the time limit, and then also just seeing all of the first few fail.
Yeah.
It was like, how are they going to do this?
Yeah.
They're just set up to fail.
It was done so well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The pacing, the intensity, it was done really, really well.
Yeah. I think that's, for me, the third game, the merry-go-round one, wasn't as interesting because the game itself is very simple.
It's so simple.
It's just about the drama of what's happening. But then the second one was such a well-constructed game because it's all these really classic Korean games all mashed into one as a mini game, as like a relay thing.
Did you play all of them?
So I did not play all of them. So Dakji, the first one, hitting the thing, I've played that.
Okay.
And then Kongi, like I've played that. I love the throwing the pebbles thing. So that's like that brought back so many memories. And I like the Marine guy was like one of the guys in high school playing with the girls that was all playing.
I have a bunch of sisters.
Yeah. And then apparently when they cut to him doing it, like the actor is actually like a stunt double of the like over the head.
Because he did it flawlessly in one take.
Yeah. But the thing is, it's very doable. Like have you not been able to go through?
I've not been able to do it.
Oh, really?
No, I don't think so. Not in one go.
So if you get through the
Maybe
4,
I did it when I was like in 6th or 7th grade.
yeah. So you pick up the singles, then the doubles, triples, 4, and then when
Right.
you do the 5,
I was
regardless
good
of
at that.
yeah, regardless of how many you get that many of points, and then you
Mhm.
start over. As long as you
Yeah.
get what you have in your hand, right? And so in my prime,
Back in my day.
back in my prime, we would go like 2, 3 full rounds at a time before we
Wow.
mess up. So it's very doable, but apparently the stunt double was actually like the national Kongi champion, like guy or whatever who was like doing it for that.
Did they speed it
insert.
up? It looked sped up.
I actually thought it was done kind of slowly, and I think it could be done a lot
Oh,
faster.
I need to rewatch it, but I remember thinking it was fast, maybe because the other players were doing it so slow.
Yeah. And I think it was done slower than he could really do it so that the audience can actually understand what's happening
Okay.
because they don't understand how the game's played, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was like so great seeing that. But I'm biased because I've played the game. I love that game. And then the throwing this top thing, I've seen that. I've not tried it, I think, on my own. And then the throwing the stone, I've never seen that before.
Me neither.
So I don't know where that came from. But it's a pretty straightforward game. And then the last one, Chegi Chagi, like it's basically like hacky sack. Yeah, that we play every Korean New Year.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's like there's like a wooden sticks game called Yutnori.
It would have been cool if they played that one.
Yeah, so Yutnori might happen in season 3 because that's such a classic one. Yeah. And then another game that they like reference at one point, which is Baktukbaki, which is like a very aggressive physical game where basically a bunch of guys like line up head to under legs and then like kind of create this like chain, and then they jump and try to break that chain. And then they do like rock, paper, scissors thing.
Okay.
So that might come in season 3 too. So there's still plenty of like Korean classic games. But
there was like a Bloody Knuckles game too.
Oh, well, every Korean game involves physical punishment.
Yeah.
It's never about who wins the game and getting something. It's about the winner gets to inflict pain and pain punishment on the loser.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why the dying at the end.
Yeah. It's very Korean.
Very Korean.
So, yeah, I mean, I really loved that second game. It was so well done that alone made it kind of all worth it.
Wow.
I wasn't really like disappointed, I think, with season 2 because I still got some good new games, and some great sequences.
Okay, one more theory.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Marine guy.
Okay.
Do you actually think he was in the Marines? I think he's a big liar.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
He's a complete liar.
I was going to say yes because he has a tattoo, right? But, okay, so in another thing in Korean culture, right? Like all the men have to go and serve for 2 years, right? It's mandatory. So it's very believable that he went through that, but he went through like some special division of that, I guess. So yeah, but
I think he probably did it and somehow quit or escaped duties somehow, shirked responsibility. Because
that's a pretty big offense. Like you would lose your citizenship and
I mean,
all that.
Maybe that's why he's playing the Squid Games.
Oh,
I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Obviously, I don't know the details. He is so suspicious because when they find out he's a Marine, he seems really nervous about it. And then also the whole thing at the end
where he fails to be able to get the ammo, and it's like, why are you such a
completely shell shocked?
Yeah.
But
to me, that's believable because a lot of, Korea is constantly at war because of North Korea, under a state of, kind of tension, but, they're not seeing action, right? They're going through training. So to me, it's believable that when he's under first time live fire, like firefight like that he would freeze up. I don't know.
I guess so, but I just think that he keeps playing up the Marine stuff like too much. And then the fact that he's, you know, got all these sisters or whatever, like I just feel like there's more going on with him. And I did look it up, and there are theories online that he actually might be another plant.
Oh, interesting.
But I don't see a ton of evidence for that.
Okay.
I just know that he's lying about something.
So
He's
maybe he has some
hiding
reveal coming?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Well, I still think my big kind of theory, standing from the first season, is that the old guy who was kind of the head of everything, who died on the hospital bed, is still alive.
You think so?
I still think
he's dead.
I mean, he called Gi-Hun to like a specific place and a, you know, a random abandoned apartment floor.
He did.
With a hospital bed, and then, you know, the whole overlooking, you know, this whole thing, if someone comes and helps this person by midnight, and right at the nick of time, like someone shows up and helps him and helps the homeless guy. Like, I think all that was staged. So
what's he doing? He's still running the show?
He's still pulling the strings from, you know, whatever. And so I think in season 3, they're going to bring him back. That's that's still my running theory, because season 2 hasn't proved or disproved it at all.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, all in all, I think I really liked season 2, and I would recommend. Would you recommend people watch it if they like season 2?
Of course.
Okay, season 1.
I feel like I just really hope that they dive more into the front man and make him more empathetic.
Yeah. I mean, and the
he
brother
won the Squid Games, the 2015 ones.
Yeah.
And so he was in Gi-Hun's shoes at one point.
Yeah.
So there has to be some kind of like
how did
connection
go
he
from
can
that
make
to now running the thing? Yeah.
Yeah, like we have to have some kind of
so all of
redeemable
that
quality
has to be revealed in a confrontation with the brother, because the cop brother is going to eventually be come to the island, right? They're going to find it.
Has to.
Yeah. Like he's going to find out the captain's a mole, and then like force him to give it the location, something like that.
I just hope that it's like a nice conclusion.
I have faith. Hwang Dong-hyuk, fighting!
Oh!
Yeah, I believe in him. So,
okay. Let's just hope that they don't try to go for season 4 or a spinoff.
Yeah, that's another issue. But hopefully you guys watch it. Let us know what you think. And, you know, set your expectations low. I mean, if you've watched this far, you've already watched it, I guess. But,
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And
let us know what you think. Yeah.
And next week we will be reviewing
Emilia Perez. That's right. Yeah, we're gonna go back to movies. We're gonna start trying to pick off some of the Oscar-nominated movies, and so Emilia Perez doing really well at the Golden Globes and winning a bunch of awards. We're gonna review that, and join us next week as we continue our quest for the 5th star.